All right, everybody, thank you for joining us today. We are the HOA Information and Resource Center program of the Division of Real Estate housed within the Department of Regulatory Agencies. My name is Nick Altman. I'm the HOA Information and Resource Officer. And the topic of today's presentation is Metro Districts and how they interact with your community. Thank you very much for joining us. With me today is Amanda Lopez, our HOA Information Support Specialist, as well as, hey Amanda.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining.
And Mr. David Donnelly, Manager of the Education, Communication, and Policy Program with the division. Hey, David.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm excited about this presentation. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Great having you both with us. So before I get started with that, I'm going to launch a quick poll here. Who is joining us today? Are you a homeowner? Are you a board member? Just gonna let the results come in here. Good to see that we have an attorney on the call today. All right, let's see here. I'll share these. Got quite a bit of homeowners and community association managers, so thank you very much. All right, so most of you know what we do here, but just in case, we provide information to homeowners regarding their basic rights and responsibilities under the Colorado Common Interest Ownership Act, commonly pronounced by its initials, Kiowa. We gather, analyze, and report information through complaints and HOA registrations. We create resource materials and provide forums such as this. We also register HOAs pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes 3833.3-4011. What we don't do is regulate HOAs, mediate or arbitrate, provide legal advice, or act as an advocate. So as a quick disclaimer, today's presentation is intended to give a broad 14,000-foot overview of metropolitan districts. By no means am I an expert in metro districts, and in fact, I can almost guarantee that other people on this call are going to be greater experts than I about the intricacies of special districts. However, the intent of this presentation is to provide you, the general public, with a general understanding of metropolitan districts, what they are, and what to know before buying into one, so that you can hopefully make a more informed and educated decision down the road. And of course, as already mentioned, information provided is for educational purposes only and is not meant to provide or be construed as legal advice. Any legal questions should be directed to a qualified attorney licensed in the state of Colorado. This presentation is for potential home buyers, homeowners, board members, community association managers, lawyers, tenants, the general public, and anyone else interested in common interest communities. The chat function is enabled below, so feel free to pose your questions in there, and David and Amanda and I will try our best to answer those as we go along today. I'm anticipating this taking maybe 30 minutes, 30 or 45 minutes, depending on how questions go. So let's get to it. And Amanda and David, feel free to jump in if you feel so compelled to expand on any particular subjects. All right, so what is a metro district? A metro district is a form of service district in the state of Colorado formed to provide necessary public services that the county or municipality cannot or might be unable to provide, such as fire protection, or water. Services might also include things like mosquito control, parks and recreation, and sanitation. Another way to put it is they are a tax-exempt financing mechanism used for the installation, operation, and maintenance of public infrastructure within the district. A metro district is created through the submittal of what's called a service plan to the local jurisdiction in which the property is located. Importantly, metro districts have the ability to issue debt, levy taxes, and impose fees and charges on homeowners. They are subject to Title 32 of Colorado Revised Statutes, commonly known as the Special District Act. They're also subject to open meetings law, as well as public budget law. Most of the records, including budgets, director information, and service plans, are available for public inspection on the Division of Local Affairs website. Moving over to HOAs. HOAs are private corporations created through the filing of a declaration with the county clerk and recorder's office. HOAs impose mandatory assessments on unit owners to finance the operation and maintenance of the association. Typical HOA maintenance might include landscaping, roof repair, swimming pool maintenance, and snow removal. HOAs are not subject to public entity laws, and their records are typically not available for inspection by the public. HOAs are subject to Title 38, Article 33.3, Section 101 of SEC, Revised Statutes, commonly known as Kiowa, and as well as the Colorado Revised Nonprofit Corporation Act, which is 7/121/102. All right, here's a side-by-side comparison of metro districts versus HOAs. So metro district is a public entity. I got my laser pointer going here. Subject to public laws. They have the power to condemn property, which through what's called eminent domain. And they can also impose property taxes on property owners within the district. They exist to fill the gap, as I mentioned, to provide the services that the city or county might not be able to provide. A side benefit of metro districts is your property taxes are tax deductible. So property taxes can be deducted. Neither metro districts or HOAs have manager licensing requirements. Community Association Managers, or CAM for short, did exist in the state of Colorado with us, housed within the Division of Real Estate from 2015 to 2019. But in 2019, a bill was passed which would have continued that program, but it was vetoed by the governor. So that ended the CAM licensing program. So neither metro districts or HOAs have those manager licensing requirements. Also, along with both entities here, it is difficult to find interested people to serve on the board for both districts and HOAs. In a perfect world, all HOAs would have excellent participation and engagement by their homeowners, but as I'm sure most of you know, that's simply not the case. So moving over to HOAs, they are private entities. Their records are not usually available for public inspection. They assess regular dues or assessments on members. They don't usually provide public services like fire protection and water treatment. The assessments are not tax deductible. And they're actually relatively simple and cheap to form as compared to metro districts. Their facilities are not open to the public. See if I can get another poll here. See, what part of Colorado are you from? Got a lot of people residing in the Denver metropolitan area. A few in the Fort Collins area, a couple in Colorado Springs. Cool. You can see those results there on your screen if you're interested. I do have another one. Let's see. Bear with me. Do you live in a common interest community? A lot of yeses. Great. Here's those results. All right, moving on. So the applicable law for special districts is found in Title 32 here, Article 1 CRS. HOAs are going to be Colorado Common Ownership Interest Act, Kiowa. The reason why I wanted to put this up is because sometimes both titles might apply to your property. You could actually be living within both an HOA and a metro district. For example, you know, if you're looking for records, you'll want to take a look at which act applies to you, or maybe you're trying to run for your board. You want to make sure that you're looking at the correct title, whether it's your HOA board or a metro district board. And that's kind of represented by the overlap in the slide here. Yeah, as a responsible homeowner, you should definitely read and understand your governing documents when you buy into your community, both for special districts and HOAs. All right, so board structure and qualifications of metro versus HOA. So a metro district is governed by a 5 or 7 member board of directors who are elected by what's called, or I guess people will call it registered electors within their district to staggered 4-year terms. To serve on the board of directors, one must be registered to vote in Colorado and own real property within the district or live within the district. Similar to the board of directors in an HOA, metro districts hire managers to carry out the day-to-day operations of the district. More information on boards and metro districts can be found here at Revised Statutes 31-1-103. For HOAs, they're governed by 1 or more directors with the number specifically stated in your bylaws, your HOA bylaws. Usually you see 3 to 5 member HOA boards, with larger associations probably having 7 member or larger boards. Directors in an HOA usually serve 1-year terms unless stated otherwise in the bylaws. Most of the time, directors must also be a property owner or reside within the HOA, although some HOAs have, or they allow for some flexibility in that regard. Just like metro districts, they hire community association managers and other professionals to help enforce the covenants and restrictions. For example, you might see an accountant or attorney on staff. Also, in HOAs, you might see special committees. Special committees are created to oversee specific items in neighborhoods like architectural review, maybe, or landscaping, or perhaps safety concerns. And these types of special committees will report back to the board with their findings and recommendations about what's going on in the community. All right, hopefully I still have everybody with me here. Well, let me see if I can launch another poll. Do you live in a metro district now? I guess I should have put not sure, but cool. Seems like most people are saying no. But that's good to know that you know if you're actually living in a metro district. All right, elections. Metro district elections have historically been held in May of even numbered years. So, for example, 2018, 2020, and 2022. Beginning this year, May 2023, elections will be held in odd number years. So 2023, 2025, and 2027. Simple majority wins, and elections are typically held by mail ballot or polling place. Sometimes you might also see what's called a county coordinated election, but I think those are a little more rare than mail ballot or polling. Here's a link to the Department of Local Affairs website that has more information on how elections are run in Colorado. So definitely feel free to check that out. I think if you just control click, you can follow that link. So for HOAs, elections are usually held once the declarant control period is terminated. Basically, that means once all the units are fully conveyed over to the homeowners. That's when board member elections will be held. And at that point, they're held annually afterwards. Most of the time, HOA elections are less formal than Metro District elections. And here is also a link to our website where you can get additional information on HOA elections. So general financing, how do these entities generate revenue? So there are several ways in which metro districts and HOAs generate revenue. Oops, go back a slide. So metro districts can raise revenue through general obligation bonds, revenue bonds, mill levies, service charges and fees, and grants and loans. So a general obligation bond is a simple IOU issued by the Metro District that is secured by property taxes on a unit owner's property. Revenue bonds are secured from any revenue source of the district, including fees, charges, or other non-tax revenues collected from residents and customers. Now, a mill levy is a property tax multiplier that is expressed as a decimal and is usually agreed upon in the Metro District service plan. So for example, the 2022 total mill levy for Meridian Village Metro District in Douglas County was 51.132. I just happen to have this written down. And the total 2022 mill levy for Market Station Metro District in Denver County was 15. So this multiplier is factored into the property tax calculation for your property and affects your annual tax bill. Service charges and fees, those can include fees, rates, tolls, and charges for programs, services, and facilities provided by the district. You might see a fee to use your rec center, for example, if you're in a metro district. Excuse me. Finally, metro districts are eligible for grants and loans through the Colorado Division of Local Affairs and other state and federal agencies. Moving on over to HOAs, we all know about regular and special assessments. Regular assessments are typically paid on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, while special assessments are usually less frequent and made on an ad hoc basis. Regular assessments go toward the overall maintenance of the community, and special assessments could be more for a specific purpose, like a major repair or anticipated replacement. You might have seen a special, if you live in an HOA, you might have seen a special assessment for something like a roof replacement or other badly needed, say like sidewalk repair, something like something, other common elements in your community. Finally, most HOA covenants allow for the board of directors to borrow money and incur debt on behalf of the association. This power is actually explicitly granted in the Colorado Revised Nonprofit Act. And interestingly enough, Kiowa allows for associations to pledge their future assessments as collateral on a loan, or subject the common areas to a security interest. Let's see if I can get another poll here going. Have you ever asked for records or documents? And I'll refrain from saying, have you been unable to receive those documents? Let's see, results. Yes, most people have asked. Cool. All right, let's see. Here is the formula for property taxes in Denver. If you, I figured I wanted to share this with you guys just in case you can actually dispute your property tax bill at your county assessor's office if you don't think it's correct. So the property tax calculation formula is the market value of your property, and I'll explain like what these mean exactly, times the assessment rate times the mill levy. And here below, here's an example for a typical single family home located in Denver, although that probably should be much higher. So as you can see, $470,000 times 6.95% times a mill levy of, this is actually 79.5 mills. I mentioned that's expressed in thousands, which is why it's a decimal here. Equals a property tax bill of $2,597.68. So how are these figures determined? So the market value of your property is determined by your county assessor, where the property is located, and is reappraised every 2 years. The assessment rate is set annually by the state legislature, and mill levies are set in December of each year by the taxing authority that you see on your tax bill. So in our case, Metro Districts. Down here's a link to the city and county of Denver, where you can go to learn more about how your property taxes are calculated. I highly recommend checking that out. It's very interesting information. All right, so regarding collection authority of these two entities, in Metro Districts, a board member can't be personally sued for acts related to their position. The district's lien is superior to all other liens except taxes, and the lien's perfected when a fee is imposed and goes unpaid. More information here, 32-1-1001. In HOAs, Kiowa states, if not appointed by the declarant, no member of the executive board and no officer shall be liable for actions taken or omissions made in the performance of such members' duties, except, and keyword except, for wanton and willful acts or omissions made in the performance of that member's duties. A homeowner delinquent on their assessments can be legally pursued by an association pursuant to House Bill 22-1137. In a nutshell, 1137 requires the association to send the unit owner a repayment plan. It's important to remember that according to 1137, associations cannot foreclose on an assessment lien if the debt consists only of fines or collection costs or attorney fees that are associated with those fines. If you are indeed facing foreclosure in your community, I would highly recommend consulting with a qualified attorney. HOAs have what's called a 6-month super lien, which basically means an HOA may collect 6 months assessment when a foreclosure occurs on a unit. The HOA super lien takes precedent over all other liens due to the concept of what's called first in time, first in right, which essentially means whoever recorded their security interest first can collect first. The HOA lien's perfected when the declaration's filed with the county clerk and recorder's office where the property is located. And HOA lien does not take priority over district liens or other tax liens. Now, how many metro districts do you think are in Colorado? Let's see, we got, most people think between 100 and 500, although I think it's greater than that. I think it's closer to about 1,800 or 1,900. Maybe David can back me up on that, but we can talk about that.
Let me chime in there real quick. Yes, yep. According to the Division of Local Affairs website, there are at least 4,545 that are listed on DOLO's website. So it's a substantially large number. That's why I think that's one of the reasons why Nick was interested in asking this question, just because there is such a wide variability of people's impressions here. Some communities might have what most of the community members are considering probably just one metro district, but there are maybe the way that it was structured by the developer created 6, 7, 12, whatever, all within that one district. So you might consider it a neighborhood, but there are different metro districts within that greater neighborhood. So that's one of the main reasons why I think this number is in actuality as large as it is. So with that, I'll hand back to you, Nick.
No, thanks, David. Let's talk about the recall and removal of board members. So in metro districts, Title 32 explains how to recall a board member. Specifically, it says any director elected to the board of any special district who has actually held office for at least 6 months may be recalled from office by the eligible electors of the special district. That's actually what the statute says. A petition signed by the lesser of 300 eligible electors or 40% of the eligible electors demanding the recall of any director named in the petition shall be filed in court. Title 38. And there's the citation if you're interested. So for HOAs, Title 38 or Kiowa explains that no matter what is stated in your declaration or bylaws to the contrary, so no matter what they say, the unit owners, by a vote of 67% of all persons present and entitled to vote at any meeting at which a quorum is present, may remove any member of the executive board with or without cause. That's what it says. A meeting can be called by the HOA president or a majority of the executive board or unit owners having 20% of the votes in the association. I hope that is insightful information for you all. All right, let's see how, which type of community is easier to raise funds revenues in, would you say, an association or a metro district? I'm just watching the results come in. That's why I'm like nodding my head here. All right, let's see here. It's about split. It's about a 50-50 split. Most, I would say people think, here, sorry about that. An association, some people think it's easier to raise funds, revenues in an association, while 44% say metro district. So also interesting results here. All right, last poll, I promise. I'm gonna do one more and this is the last one. All right, question is, which board is easier to work with? An association board of directors, metro district, they're about the same, or they're about the same, both are very difficult. All right, here's the results. I'd say both are very difficult. A lot of people think both boards are difficult to work with. All right, moving on here. So most Metro District records should be available to find on the DOLA website. And later I'll put up a slide on exactly where to go. But if what you're looking for is not available on the DOLA website, you would need to file what's called a Colorado Open Records Act request or CORA request with your Metro District. So right here is where state law mentions CORA, and I thought it'd be helpful just to kind of throw this up there and see where to read about CORA and what Metro Districts, as well as other governmental entities, are required to disclose under state law. So right there, part 2, inspection, copying, and photographing any of your legislative declaration and your definitions. All very exciting stuff to read. Similarly, here's the section in Kiowa, or Title 38, that discusses the requirement of HOAs to disclose certain records to homeowners. If you're a community association manager, I'd highly recommend just saving this onto your desktop as a quick and easy file to access. An association has to disclose these records. If you and your board of directors have any additional questions about what records they are, please send me an email and I'd be happy to help out there. So I included here on this slide what a filed and recorded service plan might look like for your Metro District or a Metro District. So as you can see in the top right corner here, it's stamped, it says received by the Division of Local Government. This just happens to be a service plan for Carl's Farm Metro District in North Glen, which I was able to pull off DOLA's website. Oops, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I just wanted to demonstrate that these records are public and that you can search for these yourself if you so desire. Most of the time they will be available, but if not, you would need to submit a CORA request to get those documents. And then lastly, a copy of an HOA declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions, also filed and recorded as evident up here by the bar. This happens to be CCRs for Buck Ridge at Key West Farms in Summit County, which I was able to request from the Summit County Clerk and Recorder's Office. We do have 43 questions in chat. I have not been monitoring that, but I think David has perhaps been trying to answer some of those. That's okay though. So here's a website. I put up a screenshot of the website for DOLA, Colorado Department of Local Affairs. I include a screenshot of which drop-down menus specifically to go to get to the special district section. So you'll go to community resources, you'll go to government services, and then you'll go down here to special districts. Once you click in there, that's how you can access the database of all the special district filings in the state of Colorado, including budgets, director information, and actually I do have a slide coming up. But there's also a map, a cool map that you can check out that shows all the metro districts in Colorado. Here's that slide I was talking about. So once you go in there, here you can see this is for ATEC Metro District number 1. You got a summary, a budget, financial documents, director information, information on elections, organizational structure, service plan. Not all of them are available, I will admit that, but most of them do have a copy of their service plan available here for your review. And again, this is the Colorado Department of Local Affairs. Here is a screenshot of the Colorado Division of Real Estate, and where to go this is the Department of Regulatory Agencies website. You go to divisions and programs, and you scroll down here to Division of Real Estate to find our website. Let's see, also for your information, this is the website to visit with the Division of Real Estate in order to look up licensed real estate professionals in the state of Colorado. You can search by HOA in the business name DBA field. I recommend using keywords here, as sometimes the system can be a bit finicky with legal entity names. But if you're searching for your HOA, try and find the name on your covenants and conditions or on the Secretary of State's website and enter it here, and it should be a pretty good search result that'll pop up for you. Okay, so importantly here, I wanted to show public disclosures. So the section, so this is the Colorado contract, residential contract to buy and sell real estate, also referred to as the CBS, where you can find the disclosures for special taxing districts, and metro districts fall under that category. If you read through here, you can also find out who else to contact to obtain more information on the metro district that you might be looking to buy into. Again, that's section 8.4. And section 8.5 discusses the buyer's right to terminate if they find that they're unhappy with what they're buying into. It's important to read this stuff. I mean, these are the disclosures that all home buyers should read. Here are the disclosures for HOAs on the CBS, same document. This is section 7, owners associations. And just for your information, a common interest community is also referred to, is also known as an HOA, homeowners association. All right, here are some bills recently signed by the governor. By recent, I mean, like say in the past 4 or 5 years. These are concerning metro or special districts. The number after HB is the year in which the General Assembly was active. So 23, 22, 21, 2021, 2018, 2017. Let's see. Yeah, and this is going to be, so example, House Bill 23, that's going to be this year, and then by the 74th Colorado General Assembly. 22 would have been the 73rd Colorado General Assembly. Just a couple here. Dissolution of special districts, special district meeting requirements, recall petition election. I highly recommend checking these out. If you don't know about these, go to the Colorado General Assembly website, type in House Bill 18-1039, and you can read the bill right there as in addition to who the prime sponsors were. So yeah, next slide here is going to be pending legislative changes. These are bills that are actively debated today at the legislature. Definitely stay tuned. So we got House Bill 1105, 1090, 1065, and Senate Bill 110. Definitely check these out. Keep yourself informed and keep yourself educated. All right, so just we're all wrapping up here. Some pro tips for you guys. Read your governing documents. Can't stress that enough. Attend district meetings. This is if you live in a metro district. Run for the board, participate, ask questions. Ask your metro district board of directors before you buy in, a good question to ask might be, how close is the district to being completed? How close are the construction projects to being 100% done? This might help you analyze the future tax burden of your property. Because if your district, if there's a lot of unfinished projects, or if you're just waiting for certain things to be done, that might mean that your property tax bill will increase in future years. If that happens, you got to budget for it and plan for it. And you got to anticipate that larger than expected property tax bill. Understand the debt structure of what you're buying into. Ask about these bonds, these municipal bonds that the developers are fronting to the board. Just ask questions. Also ask your real estate plenty of questions. That's what they're there for, right? Just as an FYI, most new construction in Colorado is part of a metro district. So this is a very important topic. Visit the DOLA website to learn more. Here's some additional resources. Department of Local Affairs website. Some of these entities are very actively engaged with the state legislature on reform, just what's going on down there. Colorado Association of Home Builders, Metro District Education Coalition is heavily involved. Colorado for Metro District Reform. And also, probably my favorite, property taxes in city and county of Denver. Contact information for DOLA and some other entities, including DORA, Division of Real Estate, as well as the your favorite, the HOA Information and Resource Center. Also, you can call the city and county of Denver. There's a phone number there if you want to try and get in contact with someone down there. Well, frequently asked questions I threw together here. Does House Bill 1137 apply to metro districts? No, it does not. House Bill 1137 only amended Kiowa. Has nothing to do with the Special District Act. Question 2, can the same people serve on both the Metro District Board and HOA Board? This might apply if you live in both an HOA and a Metro District. The answer is yes, although there might be some conflict of interest provisions to consider. Again, check your governing documents. Number 3, how many HOAs in Colorado? Actually, I already asked you that, didn't I? But the HOA Center, we collect information on master HOAs, but not whether an HOA is located within a metro district. But we can assume that it's probably a pretty sizable percentage of HOAs are located in a metro district. All right, so just a quick reminder, I'm just going to open it up here to questions. And also these slides in the webinar video will be posted onto our website, the HOA Center's website, sometime in the next week. Let's see if we can get some questions here. David and Amanda, what do we got?
I have a couple that I've actually saved on a separate document. So I've got about 6 here, kind of starting back at the beginning. Both Jerry and Patty and Susan all asked similar questions, which was basically, can a metro district within an HOA have facilities that are private? So the metro district, if it's responsible by its governing documents for facilities, those would be public facilities. However, if we have let's just take, for example, we have a large metro district that has 10 different condominium complexes in it, for instance, amongst other buildings and units, and maybe some commercial, maybe additional residential. The facilities that belong to that HOA would still be private, though. So, that I hope that answers that question.
David, I'm not sure if you want to turn your video on or not, but
Sure. What the heck? Why not? There we'll go. Another question here for you here, Nick. Rita asked a question regarding open records. If a Metro District records a board Zoom meeting, is that recording available to residents? I can answer that question with respects to an HOA. Again, that's not what this question is exactly about. In the event of an HOA, if there is a recording of a meeting, many communities will actually have conduct of meeting policies that will say, we may record this, however, we will destroy it once the meeting minutes have been reduced to writing and have been approved by the board. That's a common situation. So provided that, and in the case of Metro Districts, it's similar. If a record exists, it needs to be provided under CORA. However, Metro Districts can create record disposition policies, and those disposition policies might say, we will hold on to this for a certain number of weeks or months, and then we will dispose of it. And again, in the case of a recording, that would be very permissible. A Metro District and an HOA would not be able to make a records disposition policy that says we are going to get rid of minutes of our meetings after 6 months. Because that would be contrary to statutory law in the state of Colorado. But in the case of, since there's no requirement that a recording exist in the first place, if they make one, yes, it could be CORA'd in this case for a Metro District, Rita. It should, while it still exists. Another question, and I'll leave this one to you, Nick, Wendy asked, are most Metro Districts run by the developers?
So I don't know about most, but I know for sure some developers are able to elect themselves to the board. I would say, there might be outcry, right? Like, oh, why is the developer, I feel like the developer shouldn't be elected. But I mean, most of the time they are most informed about the community that they built and what's going on, and how much debt needs to be issued to finance the infrastructure in that community. But to kind of answer your questions, a developer, I guess that wasn't your question. It was, are most Metro Districts run by the developers? I don't really know the answer to that, but I would say not most. I would say, there's probably a sizable percentage, but that's up to the residents, to get involved, to find out where the election's being held. What do I got to do to get on the board of directors, and just kind of spread the word, like just get involved.
Good. Another question would be, what are the consequences to an HOA for failing to retain or provide records to owners? Justin, I'll take field that one. Just in I guess it was 3 legislative sessions ago now, a bill was passed by the Colorado General Assembly to impose some punishment, some punitive charges to a board that is failing to retain records, or more so to provide records, excuse me, which is if you request the documentation properly, and it is documentation that you are entitled to as a unit owner. Again, I can't request information on your HOA because I don't live there, but as you as a unit owner can, then if the community fails to provide that information to you timely, then you are entitled to some damages, which would be a charge of $50 per day, up to a total of $500 for each record request. So there is some, that was an effort by the Colorado legislature to create some incentive for board members, for boards to actually properly produce this information to the unit owners of record as they should. So I would call that a consequence, and with the caveat also that should your damages be greater than that $500 or the $50 per day, you would have to prove that to a court that let's say that you guys, my board didn't give me something, I wasn't able to sell my home, and therefore I incurred damages that were in excess of that. There is that caveat that you could obtain further additional damages from a court, but in all actuality, we don't see that very often. We see a lot of courts generally looking to see that limitation there.
I got one here for you, David. And maybe this might be a question for an attorney, but let's see. So Carl asked, when our neighborhood was set up 30 years ago, the declarant set up a metro board in an HOA with a continuous boundary. All of the bonds have been paid off, and both boards would like to merge and become a private community. Can the metro board transfer its property to the HOA, since all the district's property was purchased by homeowners through property taxes?
Excellent question, Carl. And there's a little bit of discussion about this in there, but generally there really isn't a mechanism for the two entities to merge. For a metro district to go away, it would require an agreement with the county. On the other hand, if an HOA were to be dissolved or terminated, there is actually a process in Kiowa that sets that forth. I'm going to throw out the citation here, which is 38-33.3-218 for more information on the process of dissolving or terminating an HOA. But, and this is something that's in the discussion here a little bit further down, there are situations where an HOA and a metro district can enter into agreements with each other so as to manage the other's responsibilities. In the same way that maybe an HOA board says, hey, I don't know how to do my accounting. I'm going to hire a community association manager to address these things that are outside of the comfort level of our board. Maybe it's the accounting, maybe it's doing the taxes. Clearly, it would be a board should retain legal counsel to address complicated, complex legal issues. In the same way, a board of a metro district or a board of an HOA could contract with the other entity here in order to handle some or manage some of those responsibilities.
Awesome, thanks, David. Toby, thank you. Toby said, you cannot dispute your property taxes with the county assessor. You can only dispute your property appraisal actual value. If you dispute your property appraisal actual value, that will in fact affect your property taxes. So thank you for that. Let's see, what else? Bob.
I have a question, Nick and David. This is actually from Cindy. You may or may not have answered. I'll turn my camera. Sorry about that. You may or may not have already answered this, and this is kind of goes into another one. So Cindy wants to know, Cindy Henry, why would you have both a metro district and an HOA? And then it kind of went into another question was, is there a conflict of interest when having both? And that was another question from somebody else, but they kind of go, they kind of coincide.
Sure. Good question there. I think there are a lot of different reasons why you may have an HOA that is within a metro district. One of the examples I mentioned earlier would be something like, let's say we have a very large area, some that has some of that property has single family homes on it. Others might have townhomes on it. And let's just say we threw a condominium complex, a high-rise, 10-story high-rise condominium complex in there too. Each of those separate types of housing may have their own HOA. However, they're still subject to the metro district. And again, remembering, going back to very early in this presentation, one of the reasons that metro districts are created in the first place is to really to put the, so to speak, the pipes in the ground to get water and electricity to an area that is otherwise not those services aren't being provided by the county at that time. Another would be fire protection, police protection. And so a metro district is really created for those purposes. And then but within that metro district, there could be additional further needs of a community, such as a condominium complex that has different requirements. They might have specific amenities that are only available to those HOA members as opposed to the metro district or the public at large.
Thank you for answering that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going through some of these other questions here. Well, we're so happy that everybody joined us and are contributing to the discussion. It's a very important topic, and it is being healthily debated right now at the legislature.
So it looks like we have a really good one from Sky. Says we had legislation passed that HOAs are no longer have control of the streets in their subdivisions and cannot tell residents they cannot park on the street. There is an HOA that sent out a letter to residents that this has been passed, but the HOA still has control of their streets. How is that exempt from that ruling?
So
David Station to talk. This is the public rights of way bill, but maybe David wants to handle that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the details of that scenario are going to be whether or not the roads that you're talking about in this community are what we call public rights of way or not. There are plenty of communities, let's just take, for example, a simple one to understand, a gated community where the association is responsible for the maintenance of those roads, the snow removal, filling potholes, etc. Others that might be on a public street. Maybe it's on Colorado Boulevard, right near my home in the Denver area. Any public right of way, that's what that bill applies to, and which again, it did become effective on August 20th of 2022. So the details there are whether or not your association, Sky, if they have public rights of way or not. And if you're unsure about that, reach out to your local municipality or local county if you're in an unincorporated area, and you could probably simply ask that question of the county or the municipality, and they should be able to probably help you out to better understand whether or not you have public rights of way in your community, because the bill does expressly say in the event of a public right of way, an association does not have that authority any longer. It would fall to the metro district, or it would fall to the local county, or it would fall to the municipality in some cases.
Thank you, David. Amanda, did you see any other questions that maybe we can take here? Or?
Sorry, I was muted.
We do appreciate it, Denali. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that information about special district. A great resource for district transparency notices and questions. Thank you very much for that. There was a question here. Maybe I can address this, but Wendy, it might not be addressing your question specifically, but let me see if I'm kind of on the right path. I know you said, is it an issue if a property manager is presenting themselves as a currently licensed real estate agent and they're not? What I have seen is sometimes like a homeowner will look up a community association manager in our database, and they'll see that our database says license expired. That is just because the licensing program was vetoed, and we no longer have that licensing requirement in the state. That doesn't mean that it's bad, like they're not licensed managers. That just means that the Division of Real Estate is no longer regulating community association managers.
A comment from JD, which is a good one. was that they have had some success each year. Actually, it sounds like more than once at least, that that in disputing their property taxes or so the valuation of their property for the calculation to determine what their taxes are has been successful, and their recommendation is to at least look into that and encourages parties to dispute that, or again, at least look into it to see if there's something there that's worth going after too, because it ultimately could save you quite a bit of money. Good advice. Good information there, JD. Thank you.
Thank you,
We
JD.
do have a question from Justin. Justin, this is a great question. Can an HOA delegate its governance duties, such as architectural review, to a metro district?
Could you repeat that one more? And I'm sorry,
Yes.
I missed a little bit of it.
Yes, of course. Justin wants to know if an HOA can delegate its governance duties, such as architectural review, to a metro district.
It theoretically it could, yes, through an agreement, and put that information there. But ultimately, I mean, it would still be something that the board would need to ratify or acknowledge, because one thing that cannot happen in HOAs in particular here is that, and this is a common misconception actually, that let's just take the example. I'm a member of a board and I've got a community association manager. A community association manager is a wonderful tool, a wonderful professional that can provide a lot of really detailed information about what the status of the laws are, and they can take care of letter writing and notice violations, etc. But ultimately, there are some things that a board cannot delegate to any third party, whether it's a community manager or some other vendor, and that's the right to vote to take specific actions. So let's say the situation is I've painted my house polka dots, and that's against the architectural design. Even if there had been some type of delegation to make the determination regarding whether or not I'm within the restrictions or the rules and regulations of the architectural design committee, it's ultimately up to the board to vote to say I am in fact in violation or not. So there's sort of splitting hairs there, I know, a little bit, but ultimately the decision does come down to the board needing to take a vote in order to say, yes, David's in violation of the architectural design. But yes, they could also assign some of those that process to get to that point to a third party.
I will make just another comment here. A lot of the times in metro districts, homes will like they might be priced lower to encourage or to show that, hey, these are affordable houses. We want to try and get new Colorado home buyers into their first home, or help them achieve home ownership. Metro districts, they try and keep those costs low, but typically, some of that infrastructure might not be completed yet. And then those added costs are realized later on, several years down the road, when your property tax bills increase. You might see a heftier property tax bill. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're kind of doing some shopping around, seeing, looking at these metro districts and whether you want to live in one, or maybe you just love HOAs so much that you never want to leave an HOA and you always want to live in an HOA. So what other questions do we have? It's about the top of the hour. It's 2:05. It's Friday.
I've got one more here, Nick, and then we can probably start to wrap up. But which is simply who is regulating HOA managers if it's not DORA? And as you discussed in your presentation, the CAM program in the state of Colorado did come to an end in 2019. There has been some legislative efforts to renew that. And if you are, whether you're just any old homeowner or live in an HOA or live in a metro district, if you want to see regulations for community association managers come back, I would certainly encourage you, or if you don't, quite frankly, either way, I would encourage you to reach out to your legislators to discuss that and say, to share your thoughts, whether you're a supporter of that or not. But in the interim, and this is a question toward, or an answer toward more directly to Richard, although there's not state regulation of CAM management, you still have or your community or your board has entered into a management agreement with your CAMs. So that that contract, that agreement, is going to give certain rights and responsibilities to the board, certain rights and responsibilities to the community association management companies. And I highly encourage both of those parties, when they're working together, to come to an agreement to say, this is what our expectations are, this is what's feasible, this is what it's going to cost. Because there are so many different types of contracts or different ways that boards and management companies can contract with one another, furthermore, the size of your community matters, the types of amenities your community has matters, all of these things, and then also maybe most importantly, how much what available funds does the board have in order to pay for some of those services. Having that understanding and communicating effectively with one another, so that you say, I'm doing this, you're doing that, you're paying me this much for that, I'm paying you, or I'm doing this over here. Those types of relationships, and including that in your contractual arrangements is going to be prudent, because that's going to help you have a healthy relationship with your management company going forward, as a board, and vice versa also. It can be very challenging. Nick hears a lot from board members that say, okay, we're looking at retaining a CAM for purposes of management in our community. What do we need to consider? And we have some things that we can help you consider. We don't make recommendations. We don't say XYZ management company is the best one out there or anything of that sort, but because that's outside of the purview of our office. However, what we do want to do is help managers and board members definitely have a meeting of the minds there when they're entering into an agreement, so that the contract can run smoothly forward together. It's a partnership, and that partnership extends down to the homeowners themselves as well. So those are all important things to consider when you're analyzing whether to go from self-managed to being professionally managed, or if you're going to change management companies, or if you're or simply going to renew your management contract as well. All of those things are things to think about. With that, Nick, anything else, or?
I don't see anything else. I think this I think this has been a good session, and thank you everybody for contributing and providing your input. It's important to us, and it's also important to the people of Colorado that we engage in these discussions about metro districts and HOAs. So again, we really appreciate everybody attending today. It is Friday, you know, woohoo. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email there. And again, we will post this video and the slides on our website, so that you can access them probably sometime next week, early to mid next week. But again, thank you all very much for attending, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.